Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with a super fun video that was awaiting for me for quite a while, and that is my spring sewing and knitting plans. First of all, I do have two cardigans that are already on my needles. The first one is the cardigan number 8 by My Favorite Things Knitwear, and that one is going to be a really colorful and fun cardigan for the spring and summer. And then I also have the Esther jacket by Petite Knit on my needles. But as I've said before in my last knitting podcast, it's not really a project that I'm enjoying right now. And I also thought today, am I going to bring it with me on a few days away and knit on it? And then I was like, no, I want to start a new project, which is not a good sign. So I think that whip is going to be abandoned or restarted and made into something else. So those are just two knitting projects that I have in preparation for spring, and now I'm going to show you all of the other things that I have planned out. Starting with the knitting patterns, because I know that's what most people are here for. I'm going to get started with the Pride and Pearls cardigan by Kutovakika that I also mentioned in my last knitting podcast, but now I'm going to go a little bit more in depth about my actual plan for it. I'm intending to knit it in this drops Lima. It's a really nice cream color. I just really love this kind of undyed yarn color. It's very sheepy. I think this will just go with absolutely everything, and I don't really have a cream sweater or cardigan in my hand knit wardrobe, not anything, which is very surprising to me because it's probably one of my favorite colors. So the Pride and Pearls cardigan is an all over textured cardigan with a romantic twist. I really love that it has a tie detail in the waist. This is actually very vintage inspired in my opinion. But the Pride and Pearls cardigan is also knit on 4mm needles, worked top down, then it has some seed rib stitch, which is really cute. I think when you look at this cardigan, it can be quite intimidating with all of the textures and things that are going on with it, but I actually want to step it up even more and do a cardigan with even more texture. Because what this cardigan really reminds me of and why I like it so much is the vintage Austrian cardigans. And I've spoken about this before, but it was over a year ago in one of my first knitting podcasts actually. And I was trying to knit a cardigan back then in Drops Nepal, which is the Aran weight version of the Drops Lima. And I never got around to finishing it. I frocked it and just knit something else with it, because I think I was just lacking the experience to knit it at that time. But it's actually one of my dream knitting projects, and I think now is the right time to finally cast that on. This is also a cardigan, or just generally these knitting patterns are really hard to come by. I have found a few of them on Etsy, so I will link them below if you just want to knit a pattern and be able to follow that. And I have to say that I don't really love the way that they are written up. For some of the vintage patterns, they usually don't have a chart, so they will just go row by row with what you have to do. And then they are also knit flat in panels, so that you will have to seam those together later. I think I am gonna go with the seaming route, because I think I will be able to continue the pattern repeat more seamlessly when I do it flat. And then I was also thinking that I can create a better puff sleeve with the seaming method, because I really want a gathered puff sleeve and not the puff sleeves that I create with just rapidly increasing on the shoulder cap. And something that is the most typical about these cardigans is that they usually have bubbles, cables, or a combination of both. And then a very classic embroidery all over, which will be really fun to add. So the cardigan number 8 and then probably this dream knit of mine, those are going to be some warmer pieces, more for layering or that I can wear as a jacket outside. And then I also have some tank top and tees planned. So the first one is the twist loop top by Other Loops, which I think is a really cute design. It's ribbed and then it has a cable, and I really like that it has that cable. It makes it just a little bit more elevated. This one is knit on 3mm needles with a fingering weight yarn, and it comes in a size extra small to a size 2XL. And I'm planning to knit that in the Drops Baby Merino, which is a superwash merino. And I know most people, they don't really want to knit a summer top or t-shirt with a wool yarn. But as I've said before, I really run cold, so I think this will be really good for me. And I also thought about it as a layering piece, so I could wear it also in the winter with a cardigan on top. And then also, since this is a superwash merino, I generally find superwash yarns to not be as warm as regular woolly yarns. So that's also why I picked it. And then if I do get like sweaty or gross, then I can just pop it in a wash and it won't be a problem. Then Veronica from Kutovakika currently has a knit along going on for stripes. I'm not sure what the hashtag is, but I will try to remember and put it on the screen. For this knit along, I decided to get the Sailor Swift top that I think is absolutely adorable. I really like tank tops or tees that have the kind of like a racer top or like a halter. I'm not sure how to describe it, but that is more narrow at the top. I just think it's very flattering and very wearable. It does make it a little bit tricky sometimes with bras and stuff, but you can just get a bra that also has a racer back neckline and then it's absolutely fine. This tank top is also knitted in fingering weight yarn on 3mm needles and comes in a size extra small to a 5XL. I'm also going to knit this one in wool. I'm going to knit it in Drops Flora just because I have that in my collection. And then I was thinking for the stripes to use some hand-dyed yarn, either leftovers from something or just like a single ball of something that I have in my stash. And I think that will be really cute. So I do have 2 fingering weight tank tops that I want to knit, and I think I'm going to cast those on soon when I have my cardigan number 8 finished, just because I want to get a head start on some of the summer projects or spring projects. Then I also want to do at least one crochet project. So currently I'm really looking at the In Full Bloom cardigan, and this is a pattern by Inside Crochet UK. And I've never heard of them, but they apparently sell little booklets and you can also get them as a digital booklet. And then they have a bunch of crochet patterns. And I looked at this specific issue, which is issue 166, and it had a lot of nice crochet patterns. Sadly, I'm not very well with crochet. Like, I know how to do granny squares and I crocheted a pair of pants like a year ago. Honestly, don't know how I managed to do that. But this cardigan really has me in a chokehold right now. There are also some similar cardigans that I will share on the screen that I keep seeing on Pinterest, which I think are very cute. But honestly, I'm leaning more towards the cardigans that I see on Pinterest with a nice puffy sleeve in comparison to this specific pattern. So I think I'm going to have to do my own pattern, which will be fun. But I thought I would share this nonetheless if you want to follow a pattern or if you like this one more. This is also with a fingering weight yarn, or they say sport weight, but it's Drops Saffron, which I would say it's more of a fingering weight cotton. And then they use a 3.5mm and 4mm hook. And it comes in sizes extra small to a 2XL. So that's also one of the nice things with a pattern, of course, that it comes in a range of sizes. Whereas if you want to make something yourself, you do have to do a little bit more math and figuring out how you're going to make it fit you. I don't have the yarn for this yet. I'm currently looking at just some Drops yarn, and I saw today that they are now doing the 30% off on all of their cotton yarn. So I think eventually I will purchase some of that. But I have to, again, finish my cardigan number 8 because I have the feeling that I'm not going to have enough yarn for that. But then I also have in my collection some Stylecraft Naturals bamboo and cotton. I've had this since last summer, but it's still here unfinished. And I think this could also be really nice for just a crochet project or top or something like that. I do believe this yarn is classified as a DK weight yarn, which I think is really interesting because just looking at the strands on the ball, it definitely looks more like a fingering or a sport weight. But it is 250 meters for, I think, 100 grams. That's what you get for one ball, so you do get quite a lot of yarn. If I don't end up doing a crochet thing with this yarn, then I'm going to be making the Wood Anemone tee by Sari Nordland. I actually planned this already last year and then I just didn't get around to doing it. So I think I'm going to maybe make that this year in this specific color because I have enough in this colorway. And I think it will be really wearable and cute with just a skirt or jeans, shorts, basically anything. This is knit on 3.5mm needles with a worsted weight yarn. She also has a sweater version if that's more your thing, or if you want to do long sleeves. Then I believe she makes it without bubbles and with bubbles. I'm of course going to go with the version with bubbles because I'm just a big bubble lover. But I really like Sari Nordland, her patterns. They are written very well, they never really have any mistakes and they come in a wide range of sizes. So I would really recommend if you want to do some textured or lace knitting. She's definitely someone that I go for again and again. And then one more little knitting plan that I have if I ever get around to doing it with all of these other plans is probably to do another mini shawl. I want to create another pattern for that, but I really want to create a pattern that only uses one ball of a fingering weight and then one ball of mohair, because I think that would be such a good thing for people that have that left over in their stash, that you can just make it with one ball. Or if you see a yarn that you really like and it's more expensive, then you can treat yourself to it and make just one small mini shawl. That is my plan. It will be textured, so it will have lace, bubbles or cables, something along those lines, because that's just my thing. I don't think I'm ever going to design something that is purely stockinette. That's just not my thing. I think there are plenty of stockinette things out there, so just be aware of that. But I really love the mini shawls. I really like wearing them, and they're just a really cute accessory. So for this specific one, I'm planning to knit it in the Sandnesgarn Baby Wool Lanette, which I believe is a superwash merino wool, and it's actually super duper soft, and it really doesn't feel very superwashy, which I find very interesting. And then I'm planning to hold it with the Sandnesgarn Tin Silk mohair. It's not the best mohair, but it definitely serves its purpose, and I think these colors just go really well together. And then something else fun planned that I have for this is that I'm going to have some knitting kits for that in my shop. But of course, before that I do have to get around to actually making the pattern and knitting the sample myself. So those are all of my knitting and crochet plans, and now I have also a couple of sewing plans to share with you. The first one is going to be a bum bag, and I usually would make my own pattern for this because I used to sell those in my shop, but I want a different style of bum bag, and honestly, sometimes it's just much easier to buy a pattern than to make one for yourself. I'm currently looking at the Boxy Bum Bag by Selfmade, which is a pattern store, or not really a pattern store, it's a fabric store that also has patterns and yarn, which is super cool. I believe they have multiple locations in Germany and then also in Denmark and maybe somewhere else too. I really want to go there one day. For this specific pattern they have 3 different strap options, which I think is really neat. So you can have a strap that is removable, or that has one of those clicking buckles, or just one that is attached, and they are all adjustable, which is really nice. It's definitely something that you need for a bum bag. As far as fabrics go, I have one planned in this really nice orchid purple corduroy fabric, which I think will be really cute for the spring and summer, and also something that I can still wear in the winter. I don't really have like a seasonal wardrobe except for things that are super summery as far as clothing goes. And then for the straps, I was thinking some velvet. I think that is a really nice contrast in comparison to the corduroy. Here you can see a bit better. And I really like these colors together actually. I think it's really fun. And then with some gold or bronze hardware. So that is version 1. And then I'm also going to be making one with a block print fabric, but I haven't decided on which one yet because I have quite the collection, so I have to figure that out. And then I have one more bag planned, which is a really cute pattern from Etsy. It's from this shop that is called Sewing Man Patterns, and this specific pattern is called the Ruffle Hobo Bag Sewing Pattern. And I really love that it has, as the name suggests, a little ruffle. I'm intending to make it with a longer strap so I can wear it cross body, which is just much more wearable for me personally. You know, I go to work or to the grocery store with a bag on my bike, so it's nice to have your hands free to still be able to do things. I think all of their samples are made in some type of linen or cotton fabric, which is also not what I want to do. I think I want to quilt the entire thing and then just do the ruffle naturally, so not quilted. So I picked out this fabric, just a nice caramel cotton poplin. And I think this color will be very wearable, again in the spring and winter, basically any season. And then for the lining I have this really cute fabric picked out, and I think these go really well together. And I'm hoping to have some left of this so that I can use it for some quilting project, because I think this fabric will be absolutely perfect for that. Then this pattern also comes in 3 different sizes. I'm really drawn to the smallest size, but it's probably the one that is the least practical. So I think I'm going with the middle size because I think it will fit a nice amount of stuff. So I can bring it to work and this can be like my work bag. Then I also picked up some fabric for my next sewing pattern, which will be a quilted jacket. And I've seen a lot of quilted jacket patterns, but never really the one that I would want to make, and that is necessarily my style. My pattern is going to be very ruffly and cutesy, and probably with a puff sleeve or something along those lines. Very typical my style basically. And my first sample is going to be made in a organic cotton. Probably one on the thinner side, but I'm going to quilt it anyways. And it's going to be in this beautiful dusty pink color. And then I'm going to do something really fun, kind of inspired by a jacket that I saw on Pinterest, which I will insert on the screen. And that is to quilt it with some like trims on top. So I picked out this one. which is just a cream trim with some florals like embroidered on top, which I think is very cutesy. And then for my bias binding, I got some more floral because this wasn't enough. And this is just a cream and brown floral. And then I want to do some wooden buttons, and I think it will really tie in all of the colors together. I will probably share some of the making process of that next pattern on my channel if anyone is interested. Then I would also like to make a new blouse or dress and probably a pair of pants as well, just in some lighter fabrics that will be really good for the springtime. So one pattern that I've been really eyeing up, but that is a little bit outside of my budget to be honest, is the Syd Tie top. And it comes in a tie top and a dress version, which is really nice. And I do think it's a very versatile pattern. And I'm not saying it's not worth the price that it is. It's just that for a pattern, I do think it's quite steep. And because I can make my own patterns, I think I'm leaning more towards that. But I am going to just mention this pattern in case you're not as confident with pattern making, or you just are feeling lazy or don't want to do it. Then this is, I think, a really nice one. She is also on Instagram and I really like following her. And I think I would want to make it in a block printed fabric because I'm just a sucker for block printed fabrics. So I'm thinking something like this. I think this one will be really nice for a top, and then maybe if I have enough also for a matching like tiered skirt. But that is a really nice pattern, and she also has another pattern that I really love, which is the Ruby Vest, which is a quilted vest pattern with bias binding, which is also very cute. But again, a little bit outside of my budget, so I will probably just make my own because this is something that is very simple because it's just a regular bodice with some positive ease, and that's basically it. Not to outshine this pattern, but I'm just saying that it's quite simple. Then I would also really like to make a little mini dress, and I'm looking at a Dutch pattern. It's from Knipmode. I think they have gone out of business, but I'm not entirely sure, but you can still get some of their patterns. Of course, it is going to be in Dutch, but you can still make it because I actually also use Russian sewing patterns, and I don't speak Russian and I don't use Google Translate. I just don't use the instructions, I just make it. And I think you will be able to do that for this dress as well. I just really like the volume that it has, the big puffy sleeves and all of the volume at the front. I think it's very cute. And you can also make it as a blouse, which is just a nice bonus. So I'm looking at this block print fabric for that. And I really love that this one has some mustard and pink in there as well. But I do really love that it's just really nice, colorful and springy. You know, fabrics like this, they just instantly make you happy when you look at them, which is really important. And then the final sewing pattern or sewing plan that I have is a pair of pants, like I said. So I'm either going to be making the Pomona pants by Anna Ellen. And she has a lot of nice sewing patterns as well. I've never gotten any of them, but I always see them on Instagram. They are very popular. But then I'm also looking at the Matchy Sewing Club, which is a new to me pattern maker or designer. And they are going to be releasing next week on Tuesday the Ruffle Brunch set, which is absolutely adorable. It's a front tie top with a ruffle tier and a little bit of a ruffle on the sleeves, and then also stretchy waist pants with a ruffle on the bottom. If you don't want to do the ruffle on the bottom of the pants or the top, I think those could be easily just abandoned. Like, you don't have to follow the instructions, you can just lengthen it and then it will be fine. So it's kind of similar to the Syd Tie top in that sense, because it's also a tie front top. The only difference is that from the Ruffle Brunch set, the neckline is lower, and then it also has a princess seam, which I do think is really cute. It really adds a nice shaping touch, especially if you're going to make it in a plain fabric. I think the construction of this top will really shine. So I'm really excited for them to release this pattern. I'm not sure what kind of fabric I would make it in. I was looking at a fabric in store and it was a cream, like viscose linen blend. I think I would go for something like that. Something that has a little bit of weight to it because of the linen, but then that is still very easy to take care of and not as wrinkly and more fluid than linen is. I think viscose linen blends are very nice for clothing. So I think those are all of my knitting and sewing plans, crochet plans, everything for the spring, and also a little bit of summer plans swooped in there. I really hope that you enjoyed watching this video and kind of dreaming with me about upcoming plans and warmer weather. And I'm really excited, for everything. So I hope to see you in my next video. I wish you all a very happy day and see you then. Bye bye!